Senator Persons Mullica has waived closed. The question now recurs on final passage of HB 1D. The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? The clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
83 yeas, 28 nays, Mr. Speaker.
Show the bill passes. Read the next bill.
None on the desk, Mr. Speaker.
Changes nationwide. Meanwhile, in Florida, lawmakers approving new maps, giving Republicans the edge heading into the midterms. Chandler Painter has the details. Good morning, Chandler.
Hey, good morning, LJ. So the Florida House and Senate voting to approve a new congressional map that sets Republicans up to gain 4 more seats in Congress. Florida's lieutenant governor says his state is already preparing for legal and political challenges ahead.
Look, this is not our first rodeo. We know it's not gerrymandered. It's geography plus population. It's going to hold up in the courts. The shift in population in our state has been significant. This is an accurate depiction of what goes on the ground in Florida. Again, geography plus population equals reality.
And of course, this comes as redistricting fights spread nationwide, including in Virginia, where Democrats just approved a new map last week that gives them a 10-1 advantage. And in Louisiana, where just yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Louisiana's congressional map in a major victory for Republicans. The court's 6-3 decision, split along ideological lines, weakens a key provision of the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act and limits the consideration of race in drawing congressional maps, a decision that could open the door for other states to redraw their maps in ways that could affect elections for years to come. But Democrats are vowing to fight back. Watch.
Today's decision by this illegitimate Supreme Court majority strikes a blow against the Voting Rights Act and is designed to undermine the ability of communities of color all across this country to elect their candidate of choice. But we're not here to step back, we're here to fight back.
And now we're at a point where affirmative action is gone, diversity is gone, equity gone, inclusion gone, racial tolerance gone,
our power is gone.
Voting Rights Act largely gone. But guess what, extremists? We're still here. That's right. And we're not going anywhere. And we believe in this country.
And so the is racism. It is inherently racist to draw lines and divide people up by race. I mean, the definition of it would be we're going to divide ourselves up by race and say only a black congressman can represent black people, only a Hispanic congressman can represent Hispanic people. That is patently illegal
but the
under
issue
U.S.
is
law.
they were trying to fix
also
the problem.
And it also makes no sense when you consider that we're all Americans and we can vote for whoever we want. And often, according to the statistics, we do.
Scott Jennings, he said it must be exhausting for gerrymandering one week and against gerrymandering the next. I don't know if you got this from Barack Obama. Barack Obama put this tweet out. It has 54 million views, on this tweet, but it says today's Supreme Court decision effectively guts a key pillar of the Voting Rights Act, freeing state legislatures to gerrymander legislative districts to systematically dilute and weaken the voting power of racial minorities. If you guys want to read the rest of this, you can see exactly how to find it. It's on X. I find it weird. When I saw this from Scott Jennings, I was like, he's absolutely right. I was like, just last week, they were, out there with their chest out, talking about, out there talking about all this gerrymandering. And now all of a sudden, hey, we shouldn't be gerrymandering anymore.
The great late economist Walter Williams has said consistently that to grant a right to one American is to deprive another American of a right, a special right. And that's what has happened here. When these folks are saying that they have gut the Civil Rights Act, first of all, somebody should force them to cite which provision of the act was gutted, because what they're saying is we had the right to draw lines exclusively to advantage Black Americans and therefore Black elected officials. That right to advantage Black Americans has been taken away. That's the act. That's what actually happened. What actually happened is states are not allowed to draw lines that give preference to a racial group. Now the Supreme Court has reversed that and said, no, you cannot give preference to a racial group in the way that you draw lines, and therefore stack the Senate or the House of Representatives, or even in your state, you increase the advantage of a particular type of person becoming elected by using a racial group. It's the opposite of what they're actually saying. What the Supreme Court did is take away an unfair advantage. These people believe that if you are part of a so-called marginalized group or a minority group, that there is no such thing as you having an advantage. So the making it fair for them is unfair. It is unfair for Black people to be considered electorally equal and able to vote for the person that best represents their individual, not group, individual concerns, who may be of any color. The Democrats view that as unfair. The Democrats feel like Black people should be in a voting block. That voting block should be drawn, and they should have to vote for the candidate that the Democrats give them. This ability to be able to go across the board and vote for whoever you want. And you know what that does do, which they're failing to tell you? If you live in a district that has a number of Latinos, a number of whites, a number of Blacks, it forces candidates to campaign and to draft their policies in a way that is attractive to all people, not just this group or that group. It makes them have to say, I've got all kinds of people in my district, and therefore I have to make all of them my consideration. So this idea of taking away Black preference is exactly what they're upset about. But more than that, this is what they're saying they're upset about. What they are really mad about is this is likely to open up 34 seats.
That's right.
Exactly.
34 seats that were drawn to advantage Black people that can be reversed now. But I will say this, Republicans, if you can get some seats out of Florida, you got seats out of Texas, I believe you got seats out of Ohio, and you have a potential now for 34 seats. If you lose this midterms, I will be convinced it is because you want to. There is no excuse. You can sleepwalk and win this midterms if you tried a little bit. You have to actively work to lose this.
You're absolutely right. You're spot on.
Yeah.
It's 2026, and to still have congressional districts drawn based on for racial lines, I think it's just crazy. Most people live amongst each other. I know the community that I moved from, it was a diverse community. The community I live in now is a diverse community. And to be honest with you, most places are like that. There are a few small pockets, where it's a majority. But if you look at the way they draw these maps, they're drawing them in ways to where they're almost like squiggly lines to try to make it so, which also shows you that most people just live around most people. There are Asians, Hispanics, Blacks, whites, all living in the same community, same counties, same everything. We're going to school together, all this stuff. So you don't have to do this anymore. It's right. Now, what scares Democrats is that now they have to campaign based off of their agenda and their policies. They actually have to compete now, and they don't want to do it. That's right. The problem. And the thing is that their agenda is so wicked. It's so wicked that they can't actually put their agenda out there, because if you actually, honestly, if Democrats told their own constituents, a good chunk of them, they would run for the hills. Because their agenda is so crazy, it's so outlandish, it's so wicked, it's so demonic that a lot of people that support them would say, nah, I don't know if I can get with that. I want to show this. So Ronald Carter put this out the other day. This was another tweet that he put out there. It says, nobody is telling you the real story of the SCOTUS voting rights ruling. Yes, the courts ruled 6-3. Yes, race-based districting is now unconstitutional. But to be honest with you, it should have always been unconstitutional.
That's right.
But I want to scroll down, a little bit here, because it says that if Louisiana redraws, then Alabama redraws, and then every southern state redraws. If that happens, we're looking at, this is what the map could potentially look like, or this is what it looks like currently. And things could change. All of this right here would turn red, all of these different little districts that they have. This could be, just catastrophic. And that's what they're fighting about.
The Democrats have exhausted gerrymandering to the extent that that's why they're so afraid, because they've completely exhausted gerrymandering in their districts. They've pushed it to the limit. And so when it gets undone, it's going to look real bad for them, because it was all illegal to begin with. I'm glad someone mentioned that it should never been allowed in the first place. And this is the thing that blows my mind about them, is that they accept these lies from their leaders. And then when the lies are exposed and refuted, they think that they're being mistreated, and they get angry. Because their leaders tell them, now, see, the lie is exposed and it's refuted, but what that really means is that they are trying to take your rights. They're trying to take your power. They're coming after you. And so they get really frantic about this. And this is the thing that bothers me, because of people that can't think for themselves, when they're lied to and the lies get exposed, they respond as if the lie was their life's blood. That's their lifeline. And so they're under a threat because the lie has been exposed. This is some serious stuff. You look at the mentality, and now that this is why they're so violent, because they really think, when people really think that wrong is right and right is wrong, that becomes a part of their world. And when you attack that wrong, they get really crazy. This is what kind of stuff is happening now. And I think it's sad that this is what makes our fight so important, that we have to really find ways. The Republicans have got to step up their game and really be more strategic and more clear on how they expose what these people are doing, so that the people that are being affected by them can at least get some kind of healing. Because you can't just tell them they're wrong. You got to heal these people intellectually. You got to heal them mentally. I know it's not an easy job. It may take a miracle. But we've got to minister to these people and help them understand how irrational they're thinking, because that irrationality leads to violence when they think they're being abused.
No, you're absolutely right, Minister Danzel. What I will say is this. I think the redistricting and the redrawing of these maps is going to open up some opportunities for Black conservatives to run in these districts. Yes. And they're going to have a legit chance to win based on ideas. I think it's going to open it up a lot, honestly. And the thing is that when you look at it, the way they've drawn a lot of these districts, there's some of the poorest districts, the way they've drawn them up. You look at Jim Clyburn down in South Carolina. That dude's been in office since 1993. His district was poor then. It's still poor. Matter of fact, it's probably worse off than it was when he first got into office. On the flip side of that, when they say, oh, if you do this, that means no Black people are going to, have an opportunity to win. Go look at Byron Donald's district. Go look at Wesley Hunt's district, the 38th down in Texas, which is a majority white district based off of the way the maps are drawn up. It's affluent, people with money, and he's been in office since 2022. So we're at a point now where people, if you run a good race and your policy is good and it makes sense to the people of said district, they will vote you in. And it doesn't matter how much or how little melanin you have. I think that's where we are.
But you made the point. You made the point. That's why they don't want a fair race. They want to keep the race thing going, because they keep on saying it's racist. They don't have to fight fair, and they don't have to. They'll get the people to believe it, and they'll just go and vote blue no matter who.
That's what my district looked like when I was planning to run. They took like all the way Austell, all the way down to Peachtree City. I was like, what in the world? How do y'all have a map drawn out like this? Like, this is the craziest thing that I've seen. But they said this is allegedly how Lucy McBath got her seat, because she lost her seat when she ran before, and then they redrew the map, and that's how Lucy McBath got back her seat.
That's how she got back in there.
Wow. That's how she got back in there. And so the map looks absolutely crazy. It's like the biggest thing. And even the person who is currently running right now, I say to him, I was like, you got a lot of grounds to cover because it's so much. And you have to get down to that side because that's a big chunk of the voting area. And that's why they did it like that. But I want to bring something to everybody's attention. We all agree that redlining was wrong. Do we not agree that redlining was wrong? Is it just me? Okay, so redlining was wrong. It was used to deny people access to housing, wealth, opportunity, and that was an atrocious policy that everybody hated. Now
not everybody.
Well, you know who I'm talking about. Our melanated people who were like, it's redline. Every time I hear those talking points, they redlined us. They redlined us.
Yep.
Now, fast forward to today. Now people want to draw maps, voting maps, based on the argument that we need this to protect minority representation.
Black
The
lining.
problem is you can't have it both ways. And this is when you're talking out both sides of your mouth. You need to choose what you want because you sit down here, you hate redlining, you say they're racist for redlining, they're racist for this, they're racist for that. But then when they say, listen, we shouldn't be drawing maps based on race. We should be drawing maps based on the population. Listen, the amount of people that around that said they were supporting me that didn't look like me, the excuse that you have to look like them for them to support you is crazy to me in 2026. Y'all know I always go to scripture. Scripture number 1, you shall not do no injustice in judgment. You shall not be partial to the poor, defer to the great. But in righteousness you shall judge your neighbor. In Leviticus 19:15, God's standard is clear. Justice isn't supposed to swing based on favoritism in either direction, people. And he backs it up again in Romans chapter 2, verse 11, for God shows no partiality. So at the end of the day, the real question I have for all of those people that sit down there with Timu Obama Jeffries, Dollar Store Jeffries, he went, and I agree, he went with all that bass in his voice talking about Florida, find out what's going to happen. You're going to find out what's going to happen too. We still standing. Are we trying to build a system where race no longer determines outcomes, or one where race is always part of the equation in deciding what's fair? That's what he needs to answer. And I want to touch on the last thing that he said. He said, we're still standing. Where were you supposed to go? I don't understand. Do you think SCOTUS did this yesterday? Does that mean I can't vote? Like, do I disappear? Do I evaporate into thin air because they did that? Like, the way he speaks is just crazy to me. But again, round of applause for SCOTUS. I am so thankful for what they did.
Abide by the same rules. And so if Republicans are going to redraw North Carolina, if they're going to redraw Texas, if they're going to redraw and gerrymander every one of their states, then unfortunately, we have to provide balance to that until we get to the day where we can all finally agree to put this behind us and pass nonpartisan gerrymandering federally.
I think the court is right. There's not been an instance in our country last 40 years where black people were disenfranchised by congressional lines or even being able to vote. And that was the essence of the 65 Voting Rights Act.
This is a part of a long assault by the Roberts-Trump court to take the voices of ordinary people and squeeze them out of their democracy.
I just talked to some folks who've gone through it, and they said that this is obviously the right result. They determined that the last map that was drawn for Louisiana was done unconstitutionally, and we've been saying that consistently from the beginning. That was the obvious result.
How concerned are you that particularly voters of color could potentially be disenfranchised?
Oh, I think that there is no doubt in my mind that is the attention of the people who pushed all of these redistricting maps, and also people who tried to push away the Voting Rights Act. I think that they want to go back to an America that existed in the 1950s.
I think redistricting as a whole needs to be reevaluated. I think based on this court ruling, what they're saying in sum and substance is that the VRA did not mean to say that you must draw districts that favor, one group of Americans over another, or one political party over another, which is what we have seen over these many years.
We're not here to step back. We're here to fight back.
Yes.
And we will not let their scheme to rig the midterm election and beyond be successful. And when we take back the majority in the aftermath of the November 2026 elections, one of our first acts is going to be to make sure we pass the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act so we can end the era of voter suppression in America once and for all.
I always listen to the applause afterwards. You can get preschoolers to applaud more than these individuals do. You can tell they don't believe what he's saying. Minister Danzel, you made a great point, right? I want to add to it when it comes to healing the nation, because we do need to continue having these conversations because the news is not going to show it to you. I don't hear Abigail Spanberger coming up talking about Florida's redistricting. I don't know the gentleman's name who looks kind of like me from a cousin on a different time removed, but like even he doesn't seem like he understands what he's saying. I want to hear someone who marched and caped super hard for Virginia's redistricting. I just want to be entertained. I want to hear you explain how that was okay, but what happened in Florida was wrong. That's all I want to hear, because then we can have an intellectual conversation. The problem is, Minister Danzel, the Democrats have done a great job building out a voter base that is purely emotionally driven.
Thank you.
Even individuals who are intelligent, who can have great conversations, they still, at the end of the day, will go right back to talking points. No, I want to hear about Virginia versus Florida. I want to hear how that was okay and this isn't. I don't care about gas right now. I don't want to talk about Trump right now. Don't run away and hide like you typically do. Let's discuss this conversation. Crystal, I want to add to what you said, because I think it's a good point we don't talk about enough. All this separation of individuals throughout the entire world, black, white, tall, short, big or small, everything in between, that is of the world. As long as we can accept that, we can start to grow. That is not of God. God does not have impartiality. I'll give you another one. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 9. Right. It makes it very, very clear at the end of this. And you masters do the same to them, giving them, threatening, knowing that your master also in heaven, and there's no partiality with him. So I thank you for that point. I think it's a really good one. When we sit down and have conversations about my state's better than yours, my skin color is this, that, and the third, or however I identify here, that, and the third, remember, you're supposed to be different from the world. If you're a believer in Christ, don't play those games the same way that they play them. Now, a couple things I noticed. The very first video you showed was, what's that man's name? The one that y'all call Timo Obama. What's his name again?
Hakeem Jeffries.
Thank you, Hakeem Jeffries.
His name is Spirit Obama now, because no longer Timu. LJ said call him Spirit Airlines Obama. There you go.
Okay. So he said it was the gentleman after him on the Caucasian gentleman talking to the darker gentleman on CNN. He said, and I quote, "We're all Americans. We can vote for who we want." I would love to have a conversation on your thoughts about Biden saying you're not black if you don't vote for Democrats, right? This is the hypocrisy. I just don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play anymore. We have a Hakeem Jeffries on a stage surrounded by successful black people, all in nice outfits and everything. This man sits on Congress telling American people, no, we're not there yet. We still can't quite do it. Black people are still oppressed. They don't have a vote. This man has a net worth higher than most people will make in their entire lives. Right. And he is up here trying to lecture to you about how black people are oppressed. And here's the hypocrisy again. They won't listen to Wise, Minister Danzel, Celeste, myself, or Crystal. We don't matter. We're the wrong kind of black people to listen to. So our opinions mean absolutely nothing in this situation. If you got a little R next to your name and you're in Congress and you have some melanin in your system, your opinion means nothing to us. And that's my point, Minister Danzel.
Yes.
Those individuals who don't want to hear what you have to say, who can't have those conversations, we're going to pray for you and keep it moving, because there are individuals out there. I agree with what Wise just said. They don't want that. You don't want the entire country to actually get away from this redistricting and actually vote on policy, because your policies sound insane to most Americans. They sound so insane, actually. Even members of the LGBTQIA plus community don't want to be associated with it anymore. There's a lot of original, historical, I'm just nothing special. I'm gay, I'm lesbian. That's it. I've got no numbers next to my thing. I got no ampersands next to my name. Color. It's just one thing. It's not animals. It's not attack helicopters. I'm just into my own gender. Stop lumping me together with transgender individuals, with the people who have the pluses. I still don't know what that means. And all the other things in between. I'm not binary. I'm just, I'm a dude who likes dudes. They don't want to be a part of that anymore. Says the American people, besides the ones who are like, oh no, it's so rough, it's so hard. Stop playing with them. they can't even explain to you what they want. Because if you're someone who has melanin and you're like, hey, it's bad for black people in this country, it's awful, it needs to be better, just ask them, what does better look like? And don't fall for the usual throwaway trite statements. It's equality, it's we're respected, I can safely walk down the street. Quantify it, because that's the way the adult world works. What law do you want passed that makes it better? So then when better comes, how are you going to behave? Are white people still the enemy when you get what you want? Or are you still in this separate category? How many black people got to be born? You killed most of them, but how many black people got to be born before suddenly you're not viewed as a minority that's somehow less in your own mind? Your vote matters in this country, regardless of where you live. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. Argue with me if you want to. Argue with the wall at this point in time. I live in a state that has all of like 10 black people in this entire state. So much so that when one crosses the border and comes back, I'd have stopped her too. I know all of you. You don't look familiar to me. I assure you, my vote counts the exact same as everybody else does, right? I had to say it. I've been holding that in for the last 72 hours. We don't know her. I've met all the black people in the state of Montana, okay? She ain't one of them.
I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. What are your thoughts about any of this? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family, or you can buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. And as always, keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Peace.
It is God who arms me with strength. Yeah, I'm battle ready. He trains my hands for battle. My heart stays steady. But thanks be to God, he gives us the victory. Through my Lord Jesus Christ, fear can't live in me. I was down to the dirt, red clay on my shoes, old pain in my shirt, oh so bruised. Then the Lord hit my chest, kicked death from my breath, put power in my step.